Shabbat Shalom, happy Sabbath. We're thankful that we're just a few days away from the Feast of Trumpets. And we are thankful to Yah for having taken us through a whole year for this appointed time of His. We're thankful. This morning, we want to look at the subject, a cosmic final warning. A cosmic final warning. In addition to that, or within the context of the unknown factor, In mathematics, particularly in algebra, x is a variable used to represent an unknown quantity or value. X serves as a placeholder to find the missing values and express relationships between numbers. For example, if I were to say to you, 7 times x is 21, immediately you would know what x is. If I were to say to you, x plus 2 equal 8, as a simply way of expressing it, you would know also what x is, in that x is 6. So this morning, what we propose to do is to go in search to find the prophetic value of x. Now, if that doesn't make sense to you, here is the rationale behind it. Last year, in April the 8th, America had a solar eclipse. And 7 years before that, in 2017, August 21st, there was a solar eclipse that traveled across the nation. And at the point of their intersection, which is Carbondale in Illinois, an area known as Little Egypt, that's where they intersected, and it left in the sky an X. And one wonders, what was Yahweh trying to tell us? And what did we understand from that situation? Because we're made to understand the first one traveled across the nation and went through 7 cities that are named Salem. And the second one went across a number of cities called Nineveh. So the first one went across 7 cities or towns called Salem. We know that Salem means Jerusalem, and we can verify that in chapter 14 of Bereshith, when Abraham met the king of Salem. And of course, the other one went through Nineveh, cities of Nineveh, or towns of Nineveh. Now, what are we to make of this prophetically? We then would have to go back to the scriptures to look at what happened in both Nineveh and also what happened with Abraham when he met with the kings and fought and came home victorious, and he met the king of Salem. Are we not to assume, therefore, that the king of Salem, the real king of Salem, Yeshua, is on his way? And that's why the battle is raging that King David asked, or the psalmist asked in Psalm chapter 2 to heal him, why do the nations rage? And he goes on to tell us why the nations rage, because they don't want to listen to Yah and his anointed one, Yeshua. That's why they rage. Now, as I think through the unfolding events, I think of this nation that many regard as the greatest nation on earth, the richest, the most powerful. And the word says that much is expected of those who have much. So you can be assured that Yah expect great exploits, great things to be done by this nation. But as I think of it, the assimilation of diverse immigrant cultures woven into the fabric of a shared national experience and identity makes America a unique nation. It's a unique nation of people where people from all walks of life, they have come together. History indeed informs us that of all the people who came to America in pursuit of a better way of life's happiness, only one group of people arrived in chains of slaves. Everybody who came, they came for a better way and in pursuit of happiness. But one group, outside of their own volition, they came in chains. And records indicate that the first enslaved Alkebulians, that's Africans, arrived in the city of St. Augustine, Florida, in 1565, with the Spanish colonizer Don Pedro Menendez de Avalis. That's the first group of Alkebulians that came to American soil. So evidently, their arrival predates the commonly known 1619 arrival date of the enslaved Alkebulians in Jamestown, Virginia, from West Africa through the transatlantic slave trade. Therefore, this makes St. Augustine the first place with the sustained presence of black slaves in the United States. Why am I giving you that history? And how does it fit into our study this morning? We read in the book of Genesis, chapter 15, that Yah had spoken to Abraham and told him that your seed, your descendants will be in a land that is not theirs, and they will be there for 430 years. But I will come and I will deliver them. I will redeem them. from their circumstances. And you know, Yah kept his word. But as I ponder that reality, as I ponder that thought, let's use the Virginia date of 1619 to 2025. That would be 406 years since black slave came to Virginia. But if we use a St. Augustine date from 1565 to 2025, that is 460 years. We're still in that 400-year bracket, which tells me that it is now time for deliverance. And so the point I'm making in all of this is that when Yah, on April 8th, 2024, put this sign in the sky, it was one of divine ownership. And he was telling us something that perhaps not many people have hitherto understood. You see, in ancient time, the pictographic form of the Tav was an X. It was expressed as an X. That's how Moses would have written it. So at that intersection point, and interestingly, over a place called Little Egypt, is interesting to say the least. Today is a Sabbath, and it is the 27th day of Elul. Jonah went to Nineveh on the first day of Elul. So when Jonah said, 40 days and the Nineveh will be destroyed, Jonah knew that from the first day of Elul, 40 days moving forward would take him to the day of Yom Kippur. That's the day of judgment. We now know that on Tuesday will be the first of Tishrei. We're in the last throes of Elul. So in a few days, we will be approaching the day of Yom Kippur, the day of judgment. And so we cannot project what Yah will do and how he's likely to respond, particularly in light of the fact that he had called the people, his people, to keep these feasts, and many of them say they're done away with, they're not going to keep them. Now, I know this for sure, that when a court order is sent out and you don't respond to that appropriately, you are held in contempt. And so the question must be asked to all people who proclaim to wear an earnest impression of Yeshua in terms of their faith, why will you not be keeping the Feast of Trumpet, the Day of Atonement, and indeed the Feast of Tabernacle? Why? And so Yeshua is trying to teach us something. And so I'm going to ask you to come with me to the book of Ezekiel. And we will dilate on the 9th portion of that book. That's Ezekiel chapter 9. And he called out in my hearing with a loud voice, saying, let the punishers of the city draw near, each with his weapon of destruction in his hand. And look, 6 men came from the direction of the upper gate, which faces north, each with his battle axe in his hand, and one man in their midst was clothed with linen and had a writer's inkhorn at his side. And they came in and stood beside the bronze altar. Understand what's happening here. Israel had been unfaithful for a while. And Yah had been patient with them. And when he looked into the temple, the things that he saw in his house sent a stench to his nostrils. What was interesting about that is that these people who were leading out in the assembly, in the temple, did not seem concerned about what was happening. So Yah, knowing that Ezekiel and Daniel and that group of people, Ezra, Nehemiah, Zerubbabel, they're all in Babylon. They are all in captivity. But there was nobody at home seemingly with an interest in what was taking place in the temple. You kind of get the impression that exactly what's happening now, because some of the things you see happening in Yah's place of worship, you ask yourself, is there not a priest? No elders? We hear of eldresses. But what's going on? So keep your finger in chapter 9, but come with me over to chapter 8 so I can give you what it was that precipitated the action taken in chapter 9. And it came to be in the 6th year, in the 6th month of the 5th of the month, as I sat in my house with the elders of Yehudah sitting before me, that the hand of Adon Yahweh fell upon me there. Don't miss that. Ezekiel the prophet says it was in the 6th year, that's of captivity, in the 6th month. The 6th month is Elul. That's on the 5th day of Elul. The same month we're in now. That's what he's wanting us to know. That Yah came and took him by the lock of his head and brought him. Well, let's read it, verse 3. And he stretched out the form of a hand and took me by a lock of my hair, and the Ruach lifted me up between the earth and Shemaim, the heavens, and brought me in visions to Jerusalem. He said, Yeshua, Yahweh, Elohim, brought him to Jerusalem, to the door of the north gate of the inner court, where the seat of the image of jealousy was, which causeth jealousy. It's interesting that all the leaders did not seem to concern themselves with the abomination that was taking place in the temple. Verse 4, and see, the esteem of Elohim of Yisrael was there like the vision that I saw in the plain. And he said to me, Son of man, please lift up your eyes towards the north and lift up my eyes. Ezekiel said, I lift up my eyes. And as he looked to the north gate, I saw the image of jealousy in the entrance. And he said to me, Son of man, do you see what they're doing, the great abominations which the house of Israel are doing here, driving me away from my mikdash? They're driving me away because the things that they're doing, and they call it worship, that's not what I instructed them to do. But I want you to know, you being a prophet, you being a priest, I had to come all the way to Babylon to take you, to show you this, because I cannot find anyone at home to show this to. And he said to me, go in and see the evil abominations which they are doing here. And I went in and looked and saw all kinds of creeping creatures, abominable beasts, and all the idols of the house of Israel carved all around the walls. Kind of graffiti of idols that sometimes people put in their churches. Pictures of a Messiah that people from Europe has drawn with their paintbrushes, when the word is very clear: make no image. Don't do that. And I went and I looked and I saw all kind of creeping creatures, said the prophet. And facing them stood 70 men of elders of the house. So they did have elders. Yes, they did, but they didn't concern themselves. 70 of them, the house of Israel. And in their midst stood Yazanyahu, son of Shaphan. Each one had a censer in his hand, and a thick cloud of incense went up. Did you hear that? This scene here reminds me of Moshe in the wilderness, when the princes came to Moshe and was displeased with his leadership, and they brought their censers. It was during that process that Moses' brother Aaron, his rod budded and bore almonds. So this scene here reminds me that they have their censers, but Yah, did he choose them? Many people today have a pulpit. Many have degrees from Ivy League schools saying that they have been called to ministry. But we cannot go by that. It is the spirit in a man that Yah has placed there that determines whether that person is called or not. We've got to understand that. In verse 14, Ezekiel says, and he brought me to the door of the north gate of the house of Yahweh, and I saw women sitting there weeping for Tammuz. They're weeping for who? Tammuz, who is the son of Semiramis, the wife of Nimrod, and they were weeping. It's interesting, after the children of Israel came back from Babylon, they named their 4th month of the year Tammuz. So it gives you an understanding how the culture weighed heavily on them to the extent that they named their month Tammuz. So all these things took place in the temple, and it's almost as if time had run out for them. Yah was now going to seal the faithful ones and destroy the wicked ones. Now, I want you to understand that prophecy is something that is cyclical. It is cyclical. It's not a mere matter of prediction and fulfillment, and then it is finished. No, it is cyclical in that it repeats itself until the ultimate thing takes place. And this is why in the book of Ezekiel you see the image. You hear the prophet talks about the wheel within a wheel. He's telling you it's all cyclical. You've got to understand it. And so here now in chapter 9, as we indicated earlier, Yah is about to punish the people. Because you remember, according to 1 Kepha, chapter 4 and verse 17, it says judgment starts where? In the house of Yah. So Yah is going to judge the temple first before he judges the rest of Jerusalem. He's going to judge the churches, the denominational churches first, and those who call upon Yah first before he judges the nations. Judgment starts in the house of Yah. So let's look at it again and try and make sense of it, because truth has to be relevant to the times in which we live. It has to be existentially relevant, and truth has to be logically consistent. And it has to be verifiable. So we're using the word of Yahweh to verify what we're saying today. Verse 2. And look, 6 men came from the direction of the upper gate, which faces the north. So the abomination was in the north. Each with his battle axe in his hand, and one man in the midst was clothed with linen and had a writer's inkhorn at his side, and they came in and stood beside the bronze altar. Now, this is the altar where daily those who had sinned and wanted to make an offering, they would bring their cattle, they would bring their sheep, whatever it was, and this was where it was slaughtered, and the blood taken from there and brought in to the sanctuary. This is where it happened. So they're sitting here, and the esteem of Elohim of Israel went up from the cherub where it had been to the threshold of the house. So understand what's happening here. The sin is so rife in the temple, as the sin is so rife in the denominational churches, that the Ruach, the Spirit, left. Remember, I've said prophecy is cyclical. It is cyclical. So we've got to understand that Yah, when he sees this kind of corruption, and he gives the people time to make amends, to repent, and they don't, he takes action. That's what we're seeing here. And he's leaving. He's leaving. He's gone up onto the threshold. And Yahweh said to him, pass on into the midst of the city, into the midst of Jerusalem, and you shall put a mark. Did you get me? You shall put a mark on the foreheads of the men who sigh and cry over all the abominations that are done within it. Put a hex. Put a tav. As I indicated, the X was expressed, or the tav was expressed in X when Moses wrote. That's Paleo Hebrew. Put that tav. Yeshua in Revelation tells us, I am the Alpha and I am the Omega. That's Greek, because our Messiah is Hebrew. So he said, I am the Aleph and the Tav. That's what he said. He's not Greek. I am the Aleph and I am the Tav. I am the beginning and I am the end. I am the first and I am the last. So if we transport ourselves in time and go to Little Egypt in Illinois, he put an X, he put a Tav in the sky. What was he telling us? Was he not telling us judgment is about to fall? So I'm going to seal in a particular group of people. Only he knows who they are, because I'm going to judge the nation. Are you with me? And so all the events that are unfolding before our eyes, as we look into the TV screens with glazed eyes, we're watching events unfolding, but the people seemingly they have delinquent ears. They're not understanding what happened here in the time of Ezekiel when the children of Israel were in captivity is about to unfold to an end-time generation. Understand that. He said, I'm going to seal some people in and I'm going to destroy others. Verse 5, and to others he said in my hearing, pass on into the city after him and smite. Do not let your high pardon nor spare. Slay to destruction old. The old man, they should have known better. They should have taught their sons my way. They should have known better. They should have known. And they should have taught it to their children and their children's children. But they didn't do that. Slay them. Do not let your eyes part nor spare. Young man. Yeah, I called young man. Remember now your Creator in the days of your youth, because when the evil days come like the old man, you shall say, I have no pleasure in them. Slay them. Maidens and children and women. The women too. They should have known better too. They didn't raise their children in my way. Don't spare anyone. Because they saw the abomination and they did not sigh. They did not cry. They sat in these assemblies and they saw abomination as Ezekiel saw, but they did not do anything. They did not want to rock. I don't know what kind of boat that is. But even Jonah's friends threw him overboard. We're not doing that. We put them to sleep on the deck, under the pews, to hide them. You can't hide from Yah. And so the word is saying, verse 6, slay to destruction whole young men, maidens, and children and women, but do not come near anyone upon whom the mar. Do not come near anyone upon whom the tav, the X, and begin at my mikdash. Begin at my temple, in my sanctuary. So they began with orders who were in front of the house, and he said to them, defile the house. What? Defile the house and fill the courts with the slain. Go out. And they went out and smote the city. And as they were smiting them, it came to be that I alone was left, and I fell on my face and cried out and said, Ah, Adonai, Yahweh, are you destroying all the remnant of Israel in pouring out your wrath on Jerusalem? Are you doing that? You remember Abraham in the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah did ask the same question. Is the judge of all the earth, will he not do right? And as a consequence, yeah, if I could find 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, Abraham could not find 10. Jeremiah here was told to go and find one just man in Jerusalem, and he couldn't. Verse 9 in Ezekiel. And he said to me, the wickedness of the house of Israel and Yehuda is exceedingly great. Did you hear that? Don't miss that. The wickedness of Yehuda and Israel is exceedingly great. Now, if you recall in Genesis, where chapter 18, I believe, when Sodom and Gomorrah was going to be destroyed, he said the sin of Sodom was great. Here, he says the sin here exceeds great. That means the sin is greater than Sodom and Gomorrah, exceedingly great. And the land is filled with bloodshed, and the city filled with that which is warped. For they say Yahweh has forsaken the land, and Yahweh is not seeing. But as for me, my eye shall not pardon, nor would I spare. I shall recompense their deeds on their own head. And see, the man clothed in linen who had the inkhorn is making note on his side, reported back and said, I have done as you commanded me. I've done it. So join me in chapter 10 now. And I looked and saw in the expanse that was above the head of the cherubim like a sapphire stone. Did you hear me? A sapphire stone. We're going to be dealing with the stone on Tuesday. That stone that is cut out without hands. He says, I saw a sapphire stone having the appearance of likeness of a throne. And he spoke to the man clothed in linen and said, go in among the wheels under the cherub and fill your hands with coal of fire from among the cherubim and scatter over the city. And he went in before my eyes. Understand what's happening here, because the sons of Aaron in chapter 10 of Leviticus, you will recall that experience when they brought a strange fire to Yah, and they died because they did not take the fire from the altar here. They brought a strange fire. Sometimes you go to places and people would give you the impression that they're in the spirit. The fire has come up on them. But if the fire that is on them is not from Yah's altar, it's a strange fire. It's a strange fire. Let's read verse 3. And the cherubim were standing, that's cherubim in your Bible, standing on the south side of the house when the man went in, and the cloud filled the inner court, and the esteem of Yah went up from the cherub over the threshold of the house, and the house was filled with the cloud, and the court was filled with the brightness of the esteem of Yah. So you could see that when things are not to Yah's liking, he leaves. While people are still going to church, he leaves. And that's why 1 Timothy chapter 4 says, the Ruach speak expressly that on the last day, many will leave the faith. They are in the church. They are in denominational churches and the mass gathering, but they're not in faith. We see this here in the temple. They were not in faith. And of course, we who are living in the era, the epoch of Laodicea, we have more to be concerned of. Yah had told these men, these people, there is a way to worship. But as we studied this morning, there is a way that seemeth right unto a man, and sometimes to women. But to the end thereof, it lead to this kind of destruction. So I'm going to ask you to join me in the book of Qolasim. That's Colossians, chapter 2. And the apostle here, Shaul, is one who, as you know, was struck down on Damascus Road and was commissioned to take the good news to the Gentiles, the Goyim. For I want you to know, says the apostle, what a great struggle I have for you and those in Laodicea. I have the same struggle. And for as many as have not seen my face in flesh. Now, understand something here. Here is a man who has never met these people, but he's concerned. We don't even care for people who we know. He said, I've not seen you, I don't know you, but I hear from other believers, and I have a concern for you, Laodicea. And the people in Laodicea today, they don't care at all, so it seems. In order that their hearts might be encouraged, being knit together in love, and to all riches of the entire confirmation and understanding, to a true knowledge of the secret of Elohim, even the Father, and Mashiach, in whom are hidden all treasures of wisdom and knowledge. And this I say, that no one deceives you. Let no one deceive you with enticing words. Doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter what degree he has. Doesn't matter what university is from. Don't let it happen. For though I am absent in the flesh, yet I am with you in the spirit, rejoicing to see your good order and steadfastness of your belief in Mashiach. Therefore, verse 6, as you accepted Mashiach, the Adon, walk in him. He's encouraging the people of Colossae. And remember, Colossae here is a house church. House church. Because at that time it was difficult to worship openly. You had to do it almost underground. And he's writing to a house church. Today people don't have that kind of respect for truth. But truth is truth. It doesn't matter where it comes from. Having been rooted and built up in him and established in the belief as you were. Did you hear it? He says the Colossians are established in the belief as you were, taught, overflowing in it with thanksgiving. Verse 8, see to it that no one makes a prey on you through philosophy and empty deceit, according to the traditions of man, according to the elementary matters of the world, and not according to the Messiah. So come with me now to a couple of troubling verses that seems to bother people who have an agenda outside of what they should have had. Come with me to verse 14. Having blotted out the handwriting against us by the dogmas which stood against us, and he had taken it out of the way, having nailed it to the stake. Some have confused it and seem to suggest that the commandments were nailed to the cross. Now, at what time might anyone say that the commandment was against us? No, the commandment reveals our sin. It points out our sin and gives us an opportunity to repent of them. Verse 15, having stripped the principalities and authorities, he made a public display of them, having prevailed over them in it. Let no one therefore judge you. Did you hear me? Paul establishes that the people from this worship center in Colossae, they were established in the faith. So he's telling them, let no one therefore judge you in eating and drinking or in respect of a festival or a new moon of the Sabbaton. He's saying, you are now behaving like a Judean. You are keeping the festival. You're keeping the Sabbath. You're doing right. Don't let anyone judge you in doing them, which are a shadow of which is to come, but the body is our Mashiach. Let's hold it there. These are shadows of greater things to come. Do you know the word shadow and image are the same word? So when Yeshua in Bereshith 1:26 tells us that he made man in his own image, he made man as a shadow. You and I are shadows of the Messiah. Are we going to do away with ourselves as we are advocating that people should do away with the shadow here? It's the same word, the same Hebrew word. These are a shadow, or if you don't see the shadow, you won't know what the real thing looks like. And so people go on to say, oh, they done away with. Under whose authority? No, he says the real thing is Messiah, and you and I are shadow. The head, Yeshua, cast a shadow on the body being the assembly. And the body is saying, we don't like the shadow that the head cast. The Bible teaches that when the head is separated from the body, it's dead. You're a church of Sardis. That's what he says. Let no one judge you, which are a shadow of what is to come. Let no one deprive you of the prize, who has taken delight in false humility in worship of messengers, taking a stand on what he has not seen, puffed up by his fleshly mind. Did you get that? So you better join me now in the book of Galatians, chapter 3. Oh, senseless Galatians. Oh, foolish Galatians. Who has put you under a spell not to obey the truth? Before whose eyes Yeshua, HaMashiach, was clearly portrayed among you as impaled. This only I want to learn from you. Did you receive the Ruach by works of Torah or by the hearing of belief? He's saying, you Galatian, you're behaving senseless. And then he's telling the Colossians, don't let the Galatians judge you. Don't let that happen. They have backslidden away. But you're moving forward. You are keeping the feast day. Let no one judge you, because these are shadows of the real thing, the Messiah. He is the one who casts the shadow. Don't let that happen to you. And so what we're seeing here is that Yeshua is, as I indicated, sealing his people. And he made that very clear by placing an X in the sky over the greatest nation of the world. Those who came here in chains, Alkebulan people, are chained to the history of America. They are. And no one can undo what has been done. You can only ensure that it doesn't happen again, but they are chained to the history of America. And so while we're here and elsewhere in Britain and elsewhere where they had us in chains, Baruch, this is a scribe who wrote for Jeremiah. He has this to say about us. Baruch chapter 2. Come with me there in your Bibles. So now you know what Bible you should have had. Chapter 2, verses 30. Reading on. For I knew that they would not hear me. What's new? Because it is a stiff-necked people, but in the land of their captivities, in the land of our captivity, Britain, America, and elsewhere, they shall remember themselves. We are now understanding who we are. And shall know that I am Yahweh, their Elohim. We know it. For I will give them a heart and ears to hear, and they shall praise me. Thank you, Father, for being patient with us. In the land of their captivity, and think upon my name, Yahweh, and return from their stiff neck and from their wicked deeds, for they shall remember the way of their fathers, which sinned before Yahweh, and I will bring them again into the land which I promised with an oath unto their fathers, Abraham, Yishtak, and Jacob. That's Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And they shall be masters of it, and I will increase them, and they shall not be diminished, and I will make an everlasting covenant with them, to be their Yah, and they shall be my people, and I will no more drive my people of Israel out of the land that I give to them. He says, while we are in the land of our captors, it is then, even now, we are realizing who we are. Notice what he said, He said, I will bring them again, meaning it happened before. So you better come with me now to the word of Devarim, chapter 28. That's Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 68. And Yahweh shall bring you back to Mitzrayim, bring you back to Egypt in ships, by a way of which I said to you, you are never to see it again, and there you shall be sold to your enemies as male and female slaves, but no one will buy you. Remember, I started out this morning and I said, of all the people who came to America, one group of people, the Alkebulan people, the bronze people, they came in ships as slaves. Some flew over, some came on other ships, but we came in chains. I hear the brother, though he could not see, take these chains from my heart and set me free. Take them. Brother Ray was a light of hope. Take these chains. And so it says that he will take them back to Egypt. Egypt here means bondage. And as I said, only one group of people came here in ship. So we know who he's talking about. We don't have to conjecture anymore. The word of Yah verifies. Truth has to be verifiable, who they are. That's what he says. And so that X, you kind of get the impression, strong impression, that he's now sealing his people. And those who have not repented will be destroyed. So you're about ready now to join me in the book of Chizayon. Chizayon? And we will do chapter 7. That's the book of Revelation. You know, we're so Anglified that we forget our own language. And we're going to do the 7th portion of that book, chapter 7. And after this, I saw 4 messengers standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on the tree. And I saw another messenger coming up from the rising of the sun, holding the seal. The what? The seal. Holding the tab, holding the X of the living Elohim. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 messengers to whom it was given to harm the earth and the sea, saying, do not harm the earth, nor the sea, nor the trees, until we have sealed. Till we were what? Till we have sealed the servants of our Elohim upon the foreheads. It's exactly the message that was given to Ezekiel in chapter 9. Don't do anything yet. Don't hurt the people, the arrogant, rude ones yet, the wicked one. Don't hurt them until I've sealed my people. Don't do that. And we're told that he sealed 144,000. And sometimes I hear people indiscriminately using the term that these are Jews. All I would have to say to them is simply this, that it says from the tribes of Israel, 12 of them. Jews is one group of people, Yehudi. So they can't all be Jews. It says 12 tribes. When we go to Revelation and we look at the gates of the city, it says 12 gates for the tribes, not denomination, not Baptist, not Pentecostal, not Catholic, not Seventh-day Adventist, not Episcopalian. Tribes. You become a tribe of Israel by way of obedience, by adoption. Not by natural birth. Being born in Israel does not make you eligible for salvation. Nicodemus was told that in John chapter 3. No man can come into the kingdom except he's born of water and of the Spirit. And who was Nicodemus? He was a leader. Not just an ordinary leader. He's a member of the Sanhedrin council. But he's told, you can't pass here. If you be in Yeshua, then and only then are you Abraham's seed. And so, come with me to chapter 18 of the same book. Because this book, you know, it tells us, read me and you get a blessing. Read me and do the things and you get a blessing. So we're doing just that, chapter 18 of the same book. And after this, I saw another messenger coming down from the Shemaim, having great authority, and the earth was lightened up with his esteem. After what? After the 3 angels' message was given in chapter 14. What was the 3 angels' messages? It says that you must fear Yah and give glory to him, because the hour of his judgment has come. And then he tells you Babylon is falling. And he tells you that because Babylon is falling, get out. Get out. Get out of economic Babylon, commercial Babylon, and religious Babylon. Come out. It's a system. Come out of it. Come out of error and come into truth. Verse 4, that's what he says. Why? Because all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her whoring. That's a woman. And the sovereigns of the earth have committed whoring with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the power of the riotous living. Richness. Even the churches today, they have more wealth than they have Bibles or understanding of it. And I heard another voice from the Shemaim, verse 4, saying, "Come out of her, my people, lest you share in her sins, and lest you receive her plagues." Skip with me now to verse 22. The word says, "And the sound of the harpists and musicians and flutists and trumpeters," and who? Trumpeters, "shall not be heard in you any more at all, and the craftsmen of any trade shall be found in you any more at all, and the sound of the millstone shall not be heard in you any more at all, and the light of the lamp shall not shine in you any more." Because the light's gone out because you've left the faith. You're not keeping the feast day. You're not keeping the Sabbath. Your light has gone out. Did he not tell you that in Revelation chapter 1? He says, "I will remove your candlesticks." It's happening. He's removed your candlestick. You're still going into the house, but the house is unlit. And the voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall not be heard in you anymore at all. You're singing, but what are you singing? The children of Israel did ask, "How can we sing Yah's song in a strange land?" It is going to be a strange place. When Yah's spirit is moved out of the church, it becomes a strange land because you're not dealing with him anymore. He has no relationship with you if you continue to disobey him. You're not on speaking terms with him, even as Eli was not on speaking terms with Yah in the days of Eli, but Samuel was, even as a wee boy. So the light's gone out. "For your merchants were the great ones of the earth, for by your drug sorcery." What he wants you to know is drugs is going to be pervasive during this time. Any time more than now? "All the nations were led astray, and in her was found the blood of the Nebim and the Qolasim, the prophets, and all who were slain on the earth." So we've got to understand this, that what is happening in the world today is that a group of people have served their time in slavery. They're well over 400 years now, depending on which starting date you use, whether you use St. Augustine's starting date, 1865 to 2025, 460 years, or you use the Virginia 1690, 19 to 2025, 406 years. It's well over 400 years. And Yah came and he said, "I have some people to seal, righteous people." And you know, Yah, he's not dealing with color. He's dealing with righteousness. That's how Yah works. So he wants to bring his people into the commonwealth of Israel. And I want to stress the point that being born in Israel biologically will not save you. Yah said, "I am the door. I am the gate. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh to the Father, none, except they come through my gate," says Yeshua. And so that's what we're dealing with this morning. And in Bereshith 15, 13, and 14, "And he said to Abraham, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in the land." We have been strangers. "And shall serve them." We have served them. We've built their penitentiary and we built their schools, and they have taught us war. and destruction. And they shall afflict them for 400 years. We are in that period now. And also the nation whom they shall serve, I will judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. This is a cycle. It is a cycle. And so we must understand that those who have mistreated and misused people, they are in trouble. Here is Hebrews, and let's bring this to its logical conclusion. Hebrews chapter 10. Join me there, starting at verse 31. It is a fearful thing to fall in the hands of a living Yah. Are they not afraid? But call to remembrance the former days. Yes, we do, of slavery, in which after he were illuminated, he endured a great fight of afflictions, partly whilst we were made a gazing stock, both by reproaches and affliction, and partly whilst he became companions of them that were so used. It's a fearful thing to fall in the hands of a living Yah. When they rebelled against Moshe and spoke, his brother and sister had spoken against him, Yah came down to Miriam and to Aaron, said, were you not afraid? And so, because everything is a cycle and things repeat themselves, the question lingers. Whether we speak into Britain, America, and all the nations who have used a group of people from West Africa, these very people who had left Israel, and they migrated to West Africa, to Benin, to Nigeria, to Ghana, Togo. All of them were picked up there and brought to America. The question is, were you not afraid? Because in Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse 10, yes, these same people, they will come and bring an offering to me. They will. Ethiopia one day will stretch out his hand to Yah. It's now doing so. Father, we thank you for being with us and for teaching us these truths. In Yeshua's name I pray. Amen.